Hi everyone, I'm Françoise Lamotte and I'm here today with Dominique for a new episode of the Digital Edge podcast. Hi Dominique.
Hi, Françoise.
So today I'm actually going to grill Dominique on a very interesting topic, which is AI and the future of software. There has been a lot of hype over the past 2-3 years regarding AI-driven software development, where computer software no longer has to be manually prepared, but can be generated by AI in many cases. So Dominique, first question, what exactly is AI-driven software development and how does it make building apps and programs easier than the old school way?
Yeah, it's actually a very fascinating topic and maybe one of the most powerful examples of AI that we have so far. Because if you look at traditional software development, right, it requires a lot of skill, a lot of learning in being able to ultimately program a computer to behave a certain way that you want, right? This act of course, understanding the problem space and translating that into functional software at the end of the day has been a very complex task for humans to do. And now all of a sudden with these AI tools that we have, a lot of this manual work that we've had to do to develop software can be automated and code generated based on the prompt in natural language into functional operating software.
Yeah, so you mentioned some AI tools. How do they, work? Like, code assistants changing the daily life of developers, and could they even help non-coders to create their own software?
Yeah, that's a great question. It started really out by these general AI chatbots that we use. Ask them questions about generating source code that can then be copied out into used in your programming environment. And that was, a couple of years ago. That's how it was then. But meanwhile, there are many products that have come out. All the major vendors of the AI chatbots. There's one from OpenAI, Codex, for example. There's Google has a specific tool for software development. Claude has a capability to develop software with. And again, there's even tools that allow for integration of these AI chatbots to interact with, right? So there's really a difference between integrating the tools that you're familiar with and using these tools for a completely new way of working where you almost don't see anymore what the underlying programming is. And to your point about, hey, do I still need to be able to program today to develop an app or a web application? There are tools such as Lovable and Replit, for example, where you can go and build software with very little experience in software development. So I think we're heading in that direction where these tools will continue to evolve, and the focus can then really become more on the requirements and user expectations rather than on the technical act of converting that into source code and computer programs.
So you mentioned the tools from the vendor side, but can you share some real-world examples of companies that are using AI to speed up software creation?
Yeah, that's, the interesting thing is exactly these companies, large software companies, and some of them even the ones that create these tools themselves that use it for their own benefit. So Microsoft, for example, says that they generate about 30% of their source code with AI. Google, it says they're about 25% of what they produce in software is generated by AI. Amazon is working on it too. Meta is working on that as well, right? They have a target of increasing productivity of their programs by a factor of 5, resulting from using AI tools. And of course, there's majority of Fortune 100 companies are in that bucket as well. They have quickly adopted that to accelerate their software development internally and for customers as well.
So you mentioned already some benefits of using AI in software development. You mentioned about making things faster, cheaper, more innovative. So what are the actual benefits?
The main benefit that I see right now is speed. I think there's still something to be said about getting generated code into a production environment, right? Because there's still a lot of testing that needs to happen, interoperability with other systems and so forth, right? Systems continue to be very complex in many cases. But I think at the early stage of visualizing an application, user interfaces, and working with existing code bases, I think there's a huge benefit that we're already seeing where you have to get a graphic designer, a user interface expert to start laying out wireframes for an application and creating a visualization that was non-functional. And now you can basically, with a prompt or a series of prompts, get a skeleton application that may even be functional in some cases if it's simple enough, right? And so I think that's the really the big deal, right? That you can go from an idea to seeing what something would look like on a computer, on a mobile device, or whatever the case may be, and work with that and get feedback very, very quickly.
Okay. So, as you know, always with new developments in technology, are there any surprising risks or ethical dilemmas with AI writing code, like bugs, biases, or privacy concerns?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'm not quite sure about the ethical considerations per se, but one thing that could happen over time, and I don't know if that's going to be an issue, that it required a lot of technical skill and a lot of investment of time to even, let's say, learn a programming language or a software framework to develop applications in. And now, if you can just describe what you want with a few prompts and an application that will work, right? Are we going to limit ourselves in the future by what AI chatbots are capable of, right? Is it going to diminish creativity? If somebody comes up with something new that hasn't existed before, right? We may lose some of the creative aspects of software development and new approaches. Whereas cranking out the same application over and over again may be an easy thing to do, but what if somebody has a new idea and tries to do something that hasn't existed before? Then there's no precedence. And is there anybody going to be left who can still program in a programming language at the end of the day?
And what about copyrights? I'm just thinking, who really owns the licensing of software developed by AI?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think we saw recently that some AI vendors are trying to get a piece of what is being generated using their tools from a licensing perspective. And I think this is something that we'll see what will happen, because as you can imagine, a valuable piece of software that is helpful to many users could have a very high value to the owner of the software as well. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I think it's a very interesting discussion, right? To find out and confirm that what you've created is actually yours.
Yeah. Yeah, and also the liability that goes with it,
which is that is correct. Yes.
Yeah. So if we talk about jobs, how might AI development reshape jobs in tech? Do you think it will eliminate some roles, create new ones, or just make everyone more productive?
Yeah, I think that's an interesting question, and this is a little bit something to do with sentiment in AI, right? I think it's a difference between a fixed mindset and the growth mindset. Because on the one hand, you can say, hey, we've had 100 developers in our company, and with AI, maybe we can get by with 30 developers, right? As some AI leaders claim. Now, on the other hand, if you say that, hey, with AI, I can do a lot more than what I've been able to do, right? You can develop more products, you can enhance products much faster, you can make them a lot better and be more competitive in the marketplace, right? So
Yeah.
I think it's not a zero-sum game from that perspective. But I do think it's a little bit sometimes almost misinformed, right? Where the goal is to reduce operating costs in the business because of AI, rather than saying, hey, I have so much more capability, I can do a lot more with the people that I have in the organization who are probably already quite capable. So I think it's a little bit of a mindset and a strategic perspective on that, from what I can see.
Yeah, as you said, we've never seen an IT project delivered on time, on budget. So maybe that's the opportunity
That could very well
to,
be.
to solve that problem. So, what does this change mean for enterprises?
Yeah, if I had to look ahead, of how this transition is happening to AI driven software, I think we'll see two things. On the one hand, you'll see some companies say, you know what, I'm gonna see if I can build my own software instead of paying high fees in licensing to large software companies, right? That's a natural kind of progression to say, you know what, it makes sense. I can hire two people that may cost less than an annual subscription of some software, and maybe some people will try that, right? Sometimes online there's posts from companies that have actually attempted that, and some of them even succeeded. But I think on the other hand, it'll be interesting to see if there's going to be more competition in some software spaces, because all of a sudden the entry point is much, much lower for creating competitive products of what may already exist. Now, I don't think that anybody can go and have like implement an ERP system in 5 prompts, for example, right? That may take a little bit more work, of course. But I think the tendency is there that we'll see where maybe an enterprise software package was insurmountable to build in the first place, right? Without huge capital upfront investment, that somebody may go and say, like, you know what, now this is becoming feasible. I'd like to compete in that market. And then all of a sudden you have more competition, which benefits then businesses by price pressure. Of course, that's resulting from that.
So maybe now the last question on that topic for today. I mean, what's on the horizon for AI-driven software development? Could we
Yeah,
see fully autonomous systems building entire applications someday?
yeah, that's a great question. I mean, looking into the crystal ball a little bit, I think the trajectory is definitely there that things will continue to improve. And that's at least for out of the box capabilities, right? Where there's a precedence of software, that systems have been trained well enough that you can recreate similar functionality, right? Where the AI can understand what you're looking for and then produce working software. I would also expect that it's going to get a lot better as we go from a quality standpoint. So where you've had maybe issues with security topics or not exactly meeting requirements, or a user interface maybe not being so as shiny as you want it to be, that will also continue to get a lot better, I think, moving forward. So yeah, it's a very, very interesting topic, right? And a very interesting dynamic, how even AI companies themselves are utilizing these tools for themselves to improve their products internally, right?
Yeah.
So it's like a perpetual cycle in making their own products better and helping others to do the same. So I think it's almost the next golden age of software, almost, where it becomes a lot more accessible. Software can meet user requirements a lot better, and you can get software delivered a lot faster than we were getting in the past.
Thank you so much, Dominic, for sharing your perspective on AI-driven software development, and more to come in our next episodes. Thank you so
Yes,
much.
and maybe, who knows, maybe we've inspired somebody to go take a look at what's out there, especially people who have worked in software development and software engineering roles in the past, maybe went into different areas, and all of a sudden now, hey, it's the entry point is very low at this point, and might be worth to build your own tools and help yourself a little bit better at work.
Absolutely. Thank you, Dominique, and see you next time.
Thank you, Francoise. See you, everybody.